Hey, hello everyone. I'm Greg Gutfeld along with Andrea Tanteros, Bob Beckel, Eric Bolling, and she once shot a butterfly for snoring. It's Dana Perino. This is The Five. The UN could be the worst thing ever to contain the letters U and N since untreated rabies. Case in point, their climate chief says communism is tops at fighting global warming. Christiana Figueres claims that America's political differences prevents passing laws to fight rising temperatures, while in commie China, they actually want to breathe air that they don't have to look at. They're not doing this because they want to save the planet. They're doing it because it's in their national interest. Translation, to get what we want, we need a dictator, because then we can murder the dissenters. It's the same logic behind left-wing fantasies here and abroad. A dictator, Obama, could take our guns and make us watch PBS. Why not? So never mind that in China, the smog is thicker than Michael Moore's thighs. For with the UN, evidence is a drag, and so is history. Communism slayed in the 20th century, over 100 million dead, 65 million in China alone. They're the McDonald's of massacres. But I get it. Think of how much less carbon is emitted when the emitters are reduced to crushed bone. Using this logic, all killers are environmental heroes. Genghis Khan becomes a tree hugger, and Hitler wrote the first inconvenient truth called Mein Kampf. Perhaps Ted Bundy was killing locally but thinking globally. But look, the desire for someone or something to take over and fix things, even if millions die, it's not new. It's the nature of the left. If you wish to remake, you first must undo, which spells doom for me and for you.
That rhymes.
I know, Andrea. I thought, hey, let's end on a rhyme, because on Fridays, rhyming is fun. It's Rhyming Friday. It is Rhyming Friday. Let's go to you first. What do you make of the UN suggestion? Kind of revolutionary, don't you think?
Yes. So many people would love to live in China where they control how many kids that you have. But this is about control. If you can control people's lives, then you win, at least in the mind of a liberal. It's the same argument, too, and I laugh at it, when they come out and they say, you know, fat people, if they would just all go away, if they would just die, we could fix the climate change issue. So then climate change, I guess, in their mind, if you're an anorexic, then you're also an environmental hero, because then you're not eating any food, so no truck has to travel with the food that you can digest and blow a hole in the ozone. MIT's Richard Linson, he's making a lot of headlines. He's this famous professor. He needs to get a food taster for what he's saying out in public. He studied at Harvard. He studied at a lot of other schools. And he came out recently and he said, you know what, there just is not a lot to this catastrophic argument that they're making. And if you look, he says this is all about money. All the funding for this comes from the government. So they're doing this to keep their funding sources alive. And he is an expert. I mean, he spent his entire career studying climate change.
Yeah. Bob, here's the thing. The debate is not between us. It's not over if man has an impact on the temperature. I happen to think they do, and you do too. But the problem is with the exaggeration and the inaccuracies in predicted models. Is that what leads to this kind of conclusion? Let's go to communist China. Isn't that the issue?
The communist China thing is ridiculous. I mean, we just watched a Olympics over there where they had to clear the streets off for about 4 weeks before. They had to clear the smog out of the streets. So, and China has a terrible, terrible reputation on environmental issues. And I mean, you know, we have some problems ourselves, but nothing compared to that. But having said that, so we don't get into a big argument here. NASA released their redid their report, which we've had this debate about, where 97% of climate scientists agree that the temperature is rising. Now, Eric, you can sit there and laugh, but you and a bunch of
flat
people.
earthers. Yeah.
No, I won't say flat earthers. I'm going to try to be nice about this. But when you talk about NASA, the American Medical Association, you go on down through all these lists of people who actually believe this is true, and it's the highest temperatures since temperatures have been recorded. You've got to say something's going on, don't you?
It's not the highest.
It's
not the highest.
That study
over
that
the
you
past
guys
130 years, the global average temperature has increased 1.4%.
How old is the Earth?
Yeah.
How old is the Earth?
How old is the Earth?
Hundreds
I
of
don't
years.
know. I was here about
thousands
at the beginning of
Hundreds of
it.
years, thousands of years, or millions of years.
Probably millions.
Right. So you're going to go on a study that shows a minuscule increase in temperature over 130 years, which, by the way, it has gone up and it's going down. And right now, this
1.4%
snapshot
is not a minuscule.
It's not
increase.
1.4%.
Well, I'm
No,
just trying to bring my research
It's
with
less
me, but
than 1 degree is what it is over 100 and some years.
1.4 degrees.
Go ahead. Go for it.
Communist China is ridiculous. Bob's right. Beijing Olympics, it was more like 4 or 5 months prior to the Olympics that people were not allowed to drive a car anywhere near the city of Beijing because of the smog problem. It's also the reason why the U.S. doesn't get involved in things like Kyoto Protocol, cap and trade, because China, the biggest polluters, the biggest emitters on the planet, won't play ball. If we're going to go ahead and cut our pollution and force our businesses like coal-fired power plants, which Obama wants to bankrupt, if we want to go ahead and put onerous regulations on them, and China's going to admit whatever the hell they want, it's one globe. It's, as I said before, pollution is fungible, like money is fungible. If they're polluting in China, we're going to breathe it in
So what are you saying? If
Cleveland.
they're polluting in China, we should pollute here?
No, I'm saying why should we be the only ones who adhere to put onerous regulations on our businesses so it costs us more to do business and to power our homes and plants when they're not doing it?
We're the biggest economy in the world, and I think it probably makes sense for us to take the lead on this, don't you?
No, I think the biggest polluter in the world, which is China, they should too.
Well, I agree with you, but you can't force them to do it.
Dana, President Obama said that the climate is warming faster than ever, which is what Bob just said. It's a huge lie. Climate change predictions have been wildly exaggerated. I want to show you this shot of an EPA administrator who can't actually say what's going on, interviewed by Jeff Sessions, I believe is his name. Thank you. Somebody said, yes, that's his name. Go ahead.
Is that an accurate statement? Has it increased faster than predicted or not?
I do not know what the Senate is, the president's context was for making that. I do know that each
Well, do you
of the last
believe
few
the temperature
decades
has
have been warmer
increased
than all
faster than
preceding
predicted?
decades?
Do I not have the right to ask the director of EPA a simple question that's relevant to what's before us? Is the temperature around the globe increasing faster than was predicted even 10 years ago?
I can't answer that question.
The issue here is that nobody can really answer this question, Dana.
But they all, nobody can answer that question.
Yeah.
But they all know the answer.
Right. That's
okay.
Yes.
So the answer is climate change, yes. Global warming, yes. More money for it, yes. Actually, the answer to climate change or any other energy issue is not communism. It is the private sector and capitalism, because the only way to grow yourself out of this is to have a lot of economic growth where you have companies or governments that have enough money in their treasury to be able to pay and fund for new projects will actually be scalable. They will actually work so that you could replace coal and oil. You can't actually do that now. So the best thing is actually to get America back to work so that we have more money in our own pockets so that companies can invest appropriately.
Well, it took the government, to get the Clean Air and Clean Water Act to get these corporations to clean up their act. If we leave it up to the free enterprise system,
who created the EPA?
It was Richard Nixon, but leaving that aside,
I thought he was evil.
He did not pass the Clean Water and Clean Air Act, which, by the way, but never mind. I won't get into this, how the Republicans have been attacking that, but because all it's going to do is get another big argument. But the fact of the matter is, anybody who denies that this country has polluted and has taken massive steps to correct a lot of that, and that we have coal fire plants that are good for us when they're polluting the atmosphere.
No, actually, coal-fired power plants have done an amazing job of getting new technologies in there to be able to scrub out as much as they possibly can. It's not entirely risk-free, but they've done a ton, not just because of the government telling them to do so, because it makes good business sense for them. So again, I go back to the private sector is the better answer than communism.
Well, what we ought to have is
nuclear
power. That would be the best thing we could do.
Could I just make a point about Gina McCarthy, the woman that we just saw? She was at a hearing in November and was asked about the Keystone Pipeline and gave a very similar answer to the one that she just gave. She was hammered. Why is this bad for the environment? And she couldn't answer it. In fact, she sounded more like an advocate for the Keystone Pipeline. And this is Obama's own person over at the EPA, short on answers on why we shouldn't develop our own oil right here at home.
Does anybody know how much oil that the Keystone... I'm not arguing here.
700,000 barrels a day.
A day? Per day?
Yeah.
Well,
but I'm sorry, Dan, but part of the problem, Keith Ellison, Representative Ellison, was on the other network this morning. I was listening to them, and they were talking about certain things. And Ellison said, no, definitely not the Keystone Pipeline. And I'm waiting. One of those idiots would say, well, why not?
Why not?
Just ask the damn question, and no one could do it because there's no answer.
Earlier
There's no why not. He's talking about creating jobs. He said, well, definitely not with this Keystone. Just why?
Also for safety, because earlier this week there was a big report and a lot of news articles about the hazards of moving all of this energy by rail.
Right.
If you had Keystone Pipeline, that's actually a safer way to do that, but that doesn't enter into their equation.
Well, you're still going to move by rail, though, right? I mean, you're still going to haul.
Not as far.
Okay.
I have a feeling that this topic is now over.
Dead.
When we start to talk about
Why
how
did you
oil
get
is
into
moved.
this topic, by the way?
I didn't. They told me to do it. No, they didn't. Anyway, I love climate change. Next on the